Good afternoon. My name is Andrew Meyer. We have Jake Samuelson here, Andres Gonzalez, and Wilbur Muro. And our group topic was accessibility and inclusivity. What exactly does that mean? That means not just like being able to access place, like you can access the room through the door. We want to make it easy to access the city. Not only that, but we also want it in like an economic and more of like a social idea, like being able to access like activities and amenities that the city has to offer. First, let's look at examples of exclusivity, which is very prevalent. Here are some examples of exclusivity. We have what I'd like to call walled gardens. You can't really go inside unless you live there, or unless you know somebody who lives there. You can't really experience what's inside. You can only really look in, and it's really designed to keep people out, which really kind of destroys any sort of civic community or any sort of communication between neighborhoods. And there's plenty of examples of that, and they seem to be growing in popularity. There's a few more. And they're also designed to be very large, and because of this, say if somebody can't afford to live there or can't afford a car, they can't really kind of function in this area. They're kind of just stranded, if you will. And what this does in our neighborhoods is it creates kind of this patchwork of kind of inclusive or exclusive neighborhoods that don't really seem to drive well. And when we have these main arterial streets, they don't really have any sort of street interaction. They're kind of just, hedges. For a pedestrian, that's kind of a nightmare. For somebody who can't afford a car or, even a bike, So, the way we take it, we believe communities should be probably more inclusive and more accessible to the the common man, the everyday guy. And this is a better example of an inclusive city. Things are not kind of segregated or separated into separate different groups, but kind of all kind of a city grid. Everything's kind of more organic. So you don't see patchworks of neighborhoods. It's kind of all grown into one. And I don't know about you, but I'd much rather walk along this and and have stuff to see and have shade, a little bit of shade, and not have to walk past millions of cars driving by at 65 miles an hour, and we all know how they drive down here. I'd rather walk this than over there, and especially something more like this. There's shops you can look at. It's more entertaining. As you can see, city blocks are a lot closer. You're not walking miles at a time to cross the street. I mean, they expect you not to jaywalk. How do you do that in an exclusive neighborhood, as mentioned earlier? And I'm sure you've noticed, that is the city of Lake Worth. And Lake Worth, as it stands already, is very inclusive by its design and by a lot of other factors that we'll get into. It's centrally located in Palm Beach County. I mean, it's smack dab in the middle, and because of that, it's just by its location, it's accessible by different communities in Palm Beach County. Not only in just its location, but culturally, there doesn't seem to be one predominant sort of race or ethnicity. It's really like as they say, a melting pot. And because of it's really set in a good spot not to just cater to one group of people, but cater to everyone and make everything inclusive and everything accessible. And not only would the facilities be available, but as you see here, the people of Lake Worth are also available, as you would say. So it creates, it even makes more of an opportunity to enhance that sort of inclusive nature, not to separate people, but to get people together, get people to mingle. So with that in mind, we have a few ideas that we think would enhance Lake Worth's accessibility. Say that 10 times fast. One of our ideas is kind of a greenways, kind of pedestrian-only kind of area, or like a linear park, as one would say. Here's one example. This is kind of the extreme, but New York, took the liberty of just, chopping off Broadway, the vehicular traffic in Times Square, to create more of like a pedestrian friendly atmosphere. And when I went to New York, I went before they had done that, and I did not feel like walking along there, because even though the sidewalks are wide, it's New York, it's not wide enough. So there's constant times I felt like I was being pushed into the traffic. And that's not going to get people out of their cars and mingling if they feel like that walking is going to endanger their lives. So because of this, even you can see up there from before and after, people have a lot more room. There's tables and chairs to kind of converse, things like that. This is another example closer to home. It's Lincoln Road in Miami Beach. That used to have, support vehicular traffic, but they closed it off, and they did so back and forth, several times. Once it was closed, and then they reopened it. Finally, they left it closed, and it's growing in popularity yearly. It's becoming, more and more a destination, and there's a whole bunch of shops there, and you really, just walking along there, you get to see all kind of the diversity of the people that live in the area. And we believe something similar could be taken in Lake Worth, with like Lake Ave and Lucerne, closing those off to kind of pedestrian activity. So here's something we noticed, that there's kind of like these two kind of outdoorsy areas here, but they're kind of separated. You have the beach on the right and John Prince Park on the left. I'm not sure if it's in Lake Worth, but it's very close to it, and I feel like you have these two really cool, outdoor kind of places, but no way to connect them all. And you have like the city, which is, it's inclusive, but it's not making the best out of that. So we suggest making like a greenway network throughout the city, kind of like closing off roads, roads that might not be used so much to vehicular access, and making them available for pedestrians and bicyclists. Just so like people who don't have access to cars can have a better time navigating the city and enjoying what it has to offer. And that goes hand in hand with our theme of accessibility. And what that would create is kind of like a greenway network that connects, Palm Beach State College, which is, a college for kind of the common student, connects a lot of these nice facilities. And I don't know if you've been to the Lake Worth campus, but parking there is horrible. And I think even if you had some sort of greenway connection there or something, that would help alleviate some of the traffic and help people kind of, mingle and see what's out there, and also be able to go to the beach if they wanted to, and just make everything pedestrian friendly.
Yeah, I just want to go over some benefits for if we have these green spaces and city parks joined together. Some of the benefits would be just to bring tourists and residents from Lake Worth, nearby cities together, so they can enjoy the open spaces, nature, and accessibility to the water. Also to offer a free space where residents can take advantage of leisure time with activities such as physical activity, art, culture, and science. And to create a human scale city, and also to help reduce inequality. If people actually mingle together, people actually feel part of the city, and I would think that would help reduce inequality.
Also, you have, like you were saying, there's two outdoor spaces, in which on the left side and on the right, but then you create this greenway, which goes right through the city. Makes you kind of wonder, what's in there. And, personally, if I can save a little gas and just, walk around it, I would.
And this would kind of be like a render kind of just remove kind of any cars and just throw a tree in there. Why not? And it would definitely make it more accessible to pedestrians. And I mean, we understand that Lake Ave is a major artery, but you could also you could bury the road. Some cities choose to do that, like Boston's Big Dig. They choose to bury their interstate through their city and then put a park over it. It may seem a little extreme, but it's an idea to think about. And you can always reroute roads and stuff like that. But you have primarily this this nice pedestrian environment with Lake and Lucerne, and I think we think adding a greenway through it would really enhance its accessibility.
To be more in a specific sense, if you're locally, we wanted to create a bike share system. So because less and less people are driving cars nowadays, and not a lot of people, the buses are getting more and more filled. So we thought we should set up a bike system at the end of each block where you could rent a bike and bring it back to any block. And we could also use that for a car, even. You could rent a car for a certain number of hours, and you pay by the hour and bring it back to a certain location.
That could even, if for people who might not be able to afford a car right away, that would also be a good way for them to access other municipalities outside of Lake Worth and then return it to Lake Worth when they're done. It'd be cheap, instead of running a car for a day, which could be hundreds of dollars, they could just run it for a couple of hours and then return it when they're done using it. And if you go back a slide, that's kind of like another example of, say, like a greenway where people, they're kind of separated from traffic, and a lot of more people are taking bikes. Especially there was a study done that I guess they call them the millennials, the generation coming up, less and less of them or more and more of them are less interested in purchasing a car. And that might be something with either the sour economy at the time, or just maybe the culture of the generation. But that's definitely something to look into. If less and less people are buying cars, it might be better to market the city to future generations by creating greenways. And then, Lake Worth also has several cultural, as we saw earlier, has many different cultural facets, as you will. It's very diverse, and I think that's something that Lake Worth should be very proud to have and exhibit in a very nice way. Already you have the Lake Worth Street Art Festival, which I think I read somewhere attracted over 100,000 people into the city, which is huge. That's a huge festival. And it's great because it's not like it's some exclusive gallery, tucked away in some, elaborate street that charges $25 to get in. It's an art event. It's on the street. If you can get there, if you can just walk there, you can see all the great art put on the street. And we think this is a really good example of inclusivity in culture. And it'd be cool to have more events like that. There is a green market there, but there could be other markets like a craft market and stuff like that. And that might also help, say, with the people who aren't as well-to-do. They could, if they have a trade or something, they could easily set up a spot, sell their stuff. It would help help inclusivity by having people mingle and stuff like that, and also help inclusivity by allowing people to better themselves through the city. And we also think,
since we have so many different cultures in here, it will be a great idea to bring all the cultures out and then kind of locate them in separate little parts of the city in Lake Worth, in which everybody will get together and they have art festivals. Now they could have more multicultural festivals near the beach, which is an awesome location. You can have seafood festivals, different things that could take, because it's a very centric city, and I don't think it's made into its full potential.
Finally, another thing we noticed about Lake Worth is not only its inclusivity to the urban area around it, but also it's right next door to, you know, an ocean, a lagoon, all this stuff. I know with the Smith Islands project, they're creating more of this kind of natural ecotourism thing, and that's something that could be, you know, even further. That's just scratching the surface or the tip of the iceberg. For our pier project, this was the site that we determined on, which is kind of like, takes everything about the site, which is like kind of the natural part. You see the cities to the left, or to the, you know, to the lagoon and to the beach. That's all mostly natural, like a beach and all that. And that's why we believe accessibility to nature is important to Lake Worth, because it enables people that, you know, I mean, there's some cities you have to drive, you know, hundreds of miles to get to any sort of kind of nice nature area. This one, it's, you know, it's right next door. And well, one thing we noticed is the pier. The pier is really nice, but we believe it might even be able to be taken further. This is the pier in St. Petersburg, and they're actually in the process of bidding on designs to even improve their pier beyond that. But the pier as it stands now has restaurants, shops, stuff like that, and this building is at the tip of the pier, all the way at the end of the pier. And if you want to go a little bit more extreme, Fisherman's Wharf, Pier 39 in San Francisco, also kind of takes that idea, that kind of shops on the water, kind of integrated with that, you know, very close to water, which is kind of nature. And for our site, we decided upon, as to what to put there, we decided to do split up kind of the site in half. We have 2.6 million square feet. That's a quarter of that red outline that you saw. And we decided to split the 2.6 million in half. Half of them goes to kind of the things we saw earlier, like commercial, dining, cultural, stuff like that. Cultural, like a museum, or like an aquarium or an aviary, something like that. Park, you know, you could have gathering space. The beach is considered a park. Things like that. Dining, bars, restaurants, cafes, what have you. And commercial shops, or, you know, I know right now they have like a few serve shops and tour shops, but you could also have like, you know, designer shops, if you will. And for the choice program, that would kind of enhance kind of the natural thing, kind of put a natural twist to the site in addition to all that commercial stuff. So you know, stuff that allows the people of Lake Worth to access nature. Stuff like, you know, cable ski area, which I don't know if you want to talk about that. Or.
Well, cable ski area is basically a kind of cable pulley system, which it allows people to water ski without a boat. So I think it would bring a lot of people out and to enjoy this kind of things. And it actually, I think it would draw a lot of tourism, which would help the city as well.
Right. Instead of sending them to another location up further north, to like, let's say, Orlando or somewhere where they can actually do this types of activities, you know, why not do it locally? You know, people, let's go to Lake Worth and do all this kind of different, you know, activities. I think I would go there.
And basically the general idea here was, instead of bringing the people to the water, just kind of like bringing the water to the people with all these activities out in the ocean and also sometimes.
And that concludes our presentation on the city of Lake Worth. And I thank you for your time.